Nós estamos aqui com o professor Gregory Lisciandro. É uma honra tê-lo aqui e eu vou fazer algumas perguntas para ele, para responder alguns questionamentos que nos fizeram. A gente perguntou aí quais são as dúvidas que o pessoal queria saber, e aí agora a gente vai perguntar para ele e vai responder para a gente. Greg, first of all, I'd like to thank you for this interview, and I'd like to ask some questions that people are very curious about you and your work. And did you know you are very famous here in Brazil? Don't you? No, don't laugh. Yeah, you are. So, I'd like to know your love story with imaging, with the sonography, the ultrasound. How does it start?
Well, it started when I was a resident in emergency and critical care because my clinical research requirement had to be met. So my mentor kept telling me, do fast ultrasound. I said, I don't like ultrasound. I've already taken an ultrasound course and I basically failed it. I don't think I'll ever get good at it. So when he told me to do fast, though, I finally read the original paper by Boyson out of Tufts, and I found it fascinating. And I realized I could memorize 4 views. 4 views. That's all he did. 4 views. So I could memorize the anatomy and learn ultrasound on 4 views. And it was a fascinating study because it raised a lot of important clinical questions. So that's why when I read that paper, I said, well, I'll do AFAST. I'll direct the probe differently. We won't shave, and we'll hold the probe differently too and standardize it in a little bit different manner, and then develop TFAST, thoracic fast, at the same time. And then I fell in love with it because it didn't take very long for me to realize, since I've been practicing for 28 years now, back then it would have been 13 years, 28, back then 13 years, that I was missing important conditions every day in the abdomen, in the thorax, including heart and lung. And that's when I had the epiphany where I better put a probe on every patient.
And then you began to start to believe that you were born to do this.
I got hooked. I got hooked on it really quickly.
Okay. And then after this, when did you have the idea to standardize and make the standard points of AFAST, TFAST, batch blue, and...
Well, that's a good question too, and hopefully my answer won't be really long again. But it's really important to standardize and have objectives. So we've always been proponents of a standardized protocol, so you know as a radiologist exactly what acoustic windows I'm using. We also thought it was really important to record our data. So when on goal-directed templates, from day one, the very first AFAST we ever did in TFAST, the data was recorded on a goal-directed, standardized template, as well as, you know, the way we held the probe and what acoustic windows we use. Yeah, I always share this with me all the time.
I have a picture of you.
And if I do that, then you aren't trying to figure out what I did. There's exact clarity to the 15 acoustic windows of global fast, which is AFAST, TFAST, and blue.
All right, that's great. Well, and now we'd like to know how this stories is growing, because I know the scientific community is a little bit opener about this idea, and how can you see this?
Well, that's a great question. In the business world, it's called disruptive innovation, and that's where somebody comes along and they present change, and a change that really rocks the world, right? It changes paradigms, and that's why with Global Fast, you know exactly what I'm doing. There's 15 defined acoustic windows, and that's why the veterinary point-of-care ultrasound movement is somewhat dangerous because I don't know what you're doing. And I don't know if you're doing the standardized format. I don't know what your objectives are. And one of the formats that's been taught in the university level in the United States is the flash. And what is the flash? I take the probe and I just sweep it across the abdomen and sweep it across the thorax. Well, there's really not that much value to it. It's kind of like doing an incomplete physical exam. And the one thing about global FAST, and a change that really rocks the world, right? It changes paradigms. And that's why with global FAST, you know exactly what I'm doing. It's 15 defined acoustic windows. And that's why the veterinary point-of-care ultrasound movement is somewhat dangerous because I don't know what you're doing. And I don't know if you're doing the standardized format. I don't know what your objectives are. And one of the formats that's been taught in the university level in the United States is the flash. And what is the flash? I take the probe and I just sweep it across the abdomen and sweep it across the thorax. Well, there's really not that much value to it. It's kind of like doing an incomplete physical exam. And the one thing about global FAST is that it gives you an unbiased set of imaging data points. And it's crystal clear. There's 15 acoustic windows. And with that unbiased approach, as a radiologist, you can relate to satisfaction of search error. And that's the problem with veterinary point-of-care ultrasound, the V-focus movement, is I'll just select what I want to image. When you miss really, really important information.
And you know what you have to expect. The point, exactly that point.
So you're trying to fulfill your preconceived bias for the patient instead of doing a standardized approach. So what we advocate is do a global FAST and then do veterinary focus afterwards. So always get that baseline information on the global FAST, then look at the eye. Do a baseline global FAST, and then do musculoskeletal. So our global FAST is analogous to doing a good physical exam before you move on to other components of ultrasound.
Yeah, I remember you saying that is a compliment. It's like best physical examination. That's
yes.
It. All right.
An extension of your physical exam.
Yeah, it's an extension. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'd like to know what's the new project? I know the answer, but they don't.
The new project?
Yeah.
Well, the new project is working on the second edition of the textbook that you're part of, and I appreciate that.
I know that.
Doing brain, transcranial Doppler ultrasound. It's really fascinating. So that's the next project. It hasn't gone to the publisher yet, so it's probably a year and a half, 2 years out. But we've really made tremendous strides in learning a lot over the last several years. And I think the way we teach and train has really improved significantly too. We had an advanced continuing education course with ACVIM last August with advanced respiratory imaging. So we trained a bunch of internists from the United States and Canada in global FAST. And I presented 6 hours of vet global FAST for patient monitoring at the appointment center with Dr. Carol Ranero, and I've trained her, so she's doing a lot of comparative research now with CT and radiography and vet blue, so it's really exciting. And I'm trying to learn more and more. The brain, musculoskeletal.
It never ends.
Never ends.
No. So I'd like that you now let a messenger for who's starting now and Brazilian people and Brazilian students, Cameroon. You can let a message.
Leave a message for them?
Yeah.
Well, I think it should be a core skill for all veterinarians. And I think that the way we do the global FAST approach with the 15 acoustic windows, that it's really simplified, and I think it's really achievable, especially if you combine that with your anatomy courses and then scan after them. I think you can really learn quickly how to do ultrasound. And if you really think about it, once you do one lung image, the other 7 are exactly the same. So you can really boil it down to almost, there's only 9 acoustic windows you have to learn, or 10. So it's very achievable, and then you build your skills every time you do a global fast, and then you can get better and better if you want to take off and learn complete detailed abdominal ultrasounds or complete echoes. You're gaining skills every time you do a global fast.
As you usually say, that even your child can do.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes,
right.
it is. Yes.
Okay. So, anything else?
It was a pleasure to chat with you and see you again.
That's a pleasure
And
for me too.
yeah, so keep moving this movement forward. I know you do, and you have a great love for ultrasound too.
That's our mission.
And a pioneer, yes.
So fast saves lives.
Global fast saves
Global
lives.
fast. Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
again.